I first became interested in studying the effects of personality on the writing process when I discovered how personality affected my own life and career. I had been in book publishing in that fast paced world and excelling, loving every bit of it. And when I moved towards freelancing, which was supposed to be a step toward independence, I was frustrated by how bored I was with that. And when I discovered personality typology again, I realized that predictability and sameness was exactly what I did not need. And so I moved to a new career, and I'm now teaching college students first year writing, and I'm loving it because I'm interacting with other people. Meanwhile, I began to notice that the field of writing is populated to a large degree by introverts, and I wondered what attracted me, an extrovert, to this field. I wondered how I did things differently than introverts, and if I could improve my writing skills by studying how introverts work, and if they could learn from my extroversion. I went on to consider how other aspects of personality might also affect the writing process. I wanted to see for myself if a student's personality type affected his or her process of writing, and to see if I could come up with a tool for instructors of first-year composition courses to enable them to be more effective teachers. I use the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator in my research. It is one of the most widely used and accepted instruments in identifying personality type. It identifies 8 personality preferences in contrasting pairs. Extroversion, introversion distinguishes a preference for focusing attention on and drawing energy from the outer world versus the inner world. Sensing intuition distinguishes a preference on how to gather information directly through the 5 senses versus indirectly through intuition. In other words, going beyond the data. Thinking feeling distinguishes a preference for making decisions through objective, impersonal logic versus subjective, person-centered values. Judging perceiving distinguishes an outward preference for having things planned and organized versus a flexible style based more on staying open to options than deciding. The 4 letters that represent you create your personality type. 16 personality types, each with distinct traits, are created by combining each of the preferences. 4 temperaments are created by combining 6 of the preferences based on whether their communication style is primarily concrete or abstract, and whether their action is primarily utilitarian or cooperative. Concrete thinkers are primarily concerned about the external, concrete world of everyday realities. Abstract thinkers are primarily concerned about the internal, abstract world of ideas. Cooperators act primarily in cooperation or socially acceptable manner. That is, they try to do the right thing in keeping with agreed upon social rules. Utilitarians act primarily in a pragmatic manner. That is, they do what achieves their objectives as effectively or efficiently as possible. SJs, called guardians, are concrete cooperators. NFs, called idealists, are abstract cooperators. SPs, called artisans, are concrete utilitarians. NTs, called rationals, are abstract utilitarians. For this research project, I invited students of first-year composition courses to participate in a study that would explore the connection between personality and the writing process. Each participant's personality type was determined by a reliable and valid self-administered MBTI personality test, the results of which were reported on the survey. The idea of writing as a process was introduced to subjects before they began a writing assignment. They were asked to remain self-aware of their own process as they outlined, wrote, and revised an essay assigned to them in their composition course. Optionally, students could keep a written or verbal log. Immediately after the assignment was complete, participants responded to a confidential online survey about their process of writing, looking at details regarding each step of the process of composing. A total of 32 students participated in the study, representing 11 of the personality types in all 4 of the temperaments. This graph indicates students' self-identified score of enjoyment and skill. I looked at how easy it was for preferences and temperaments to come up with ideas, and what influenced those ideas. The participants indicated their research strategies. The participants indicated their most helpful revision tools and their favorite part of the writing process. And finally, whether being self-aware during the writing process was enjoyable and beneficial. Marked patterns can be found when using personality to understand the process of writing. For those who are familiar with the MBTI instrument, most of the patterns may not be surprising. E's, who prefer to focus on the outer world, do not enjoy this mostly internal activity, writing, as much as do I's, who prefer to focus on the inner world. Likewise, E's are far less likely to spend time revising. Furthermore, I's most enjoy being self-aware of their writing process, and E's enjoy it least. S's, who take in information through concrete means, do not consider themselves to be skilled writers, whereas N's, who prefer to interpret and add meaning to basic information, are highly confident of their writing. Keep in mind that all the subjects of this study were freshman students who likely received corrective feedback on their writing. It makes sense that N's can see beyond the criticisms and S's focus on it. T's, who make decisions based on logic, are most likely to write indoors, which is practical, and F's, who make decisions based on feelings, are the least likely to write indoors, willing to give up the practical for what is most appealing. J's, who prefer structure, outline and plan their writing projects more extensively than P's, who prefer flexibility. Each temperament in this study also has identifiable markers. It goes beyond the scope of this study to lay out an extensive plan for instructors to reach each preference or even each temperament. However, it is clear that to do so would be highly valuable. This study is simply an introduction to the idea. Further research is recommended. As none of the participants turned in any written work, their skill level could not be judged, and the participant self-assessment is unreliable. Therefore, determining whether certain types, preferences, or temperaments write better than others was not possible, or if that skill is affected by personality. The results for this study would be more accurate with a larger number of respondents. Also, trusting the participants to administer their own personality test has risks, because without fully understanding what each letter stands for, the students have no way to verify if the results accurately reflect their type. Finally, trusting the participants' interpretation of their own writing skill is not nearly as reliable as having an unbiased judge rate their skill using objective standards. If an English instructor, preferably using his or her own students to better observe personality and writing skill, could collaborate with a psychologist to study a large group of students, more accurate implications might be identified.